everyone, from the Matt Morris Digital Studio here in Fresno, California. This is the Beem and Dean Show, episode 73, December 8th, 2025. Scotty, we've got our playoff bracket for college football. We know where the Fresno State Bulldogs are going to be headed right after Christmas. Let's talk about that just for a second. They're headed to Tucson, Arizona to play in the Snoop Dogg Bowl. Is that what it's officially called?
I think it's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl,
there
presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. That's the official name, I believe.
I can't wait to see that on the patch.
Yeah, I forgot to ask Jackson Moore last night, a Bulldog Insider, if he's a regular drinker of the gin and juice.
Oh, boy.
That would have been a good question for him.
Rolling down the street, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they're going to be playing Miami of Ohio, who lost their conference championship game to Western Michigan over the weekend. So real quick thoughts on Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, I don't know much about Miami of Ohio. I was reading a little bit about them. Looks like they had a quarterback who left mid-season, which was kind of interesting. Decided just to prepare for the NFL draft, or maybe there was something going on there that we're unaware of. But had some quarterback issues down the stretch. They, looked like a solid MAC football team. Were able to work their way into the MAC championship game, but don't know a ton about them. Coach Entz did mention today that it doesn't sound like there's wholesale guys, thinking about entering the portal, but he did hint at there have been a few Bulldog players who've, talked to him about, maybe moving on, and maybe they won't be practicing with the team here during the bowl season. But I get the sense that it's not anybody of super high profile. At least that's what I think.
Early. Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, we got plenty of time to delve into that. Before we get to the playoff bracket and all that, let's come in hot. All right, Scotty, playoff bracket's out. We've been talking about this for weeks. We've got our 12 teams. There's a lot of banter on whether the committee did the right thing or the wrong thing. Obviously, they left 3-loss Alabama in. They excluded Notre Dame and got Miami in because they played head-to-head. I know you were pretty pleased with how the committee did, so I'll let you start.
Well, it's just my overriding theme is I think the playoff committee did a good job here. At least the way I view things. I said on this show that I think if it came down to Notre Dame and Miami, there was no doubt Miami deserved to get in over Notre Dame. And then you had the Alabama problem. So really it probably came down to Alabama and Notre Dame at that point. And I can understand the committee's argument there as far as not really wanting to punish a team for losing in a conference title game. I do think that argument holds some weight, right? And then when you really look at what Notre Dame has at this point, Notre Dame lost a couple games at the beginning of the year. Their strength of schedule wasn't that great. Now, having said that, Notre Dame, by the computer rankings, I took a look at Jeff Sagarin's rankings earlier today just to get some context here. Okay. He has them ranked the number 2 team in the country at this point, according to his pure predictor ranking, right? And Alabama's somewhere down at like 9 or 10. I think Miami's at 7 at this point. But when I woke up on Sunday, I woke up about 10. I did not watch the selection show. And I immediately kind of read the story. And then I went to Twitter. And, I didn't spend a lot of time on Twitter. I just kind of peek in and out at Twitter, or for work purposes get on there. But saw a lot of immediate stuff from some college football writers saying, the college football playoff needs to be changed, or we need to blow this thing up, or whatever. I don't see that. I mean, I think the point of having a committee is to kind of figure things out rationally, right? And I think in this case, they did actually make rational decisions. Now, it's hard to say whether it's a right or wrong answer. It's whatever you put weight on. So one person's feelings are going to be different than another person's feelings. But I believe they came to a rational conclusion that the head-to-head should matter between Notre Dame and Miami. So we put Miami in over them. And then we shouldn't necessarily punish teams, especially an SEC champion like Alabama, or SEC championship game appearance by Alabama against a team like Georgia. Now, having said that, you can also argue from BYU's perspective, BYU dropped after losing in a conference title game. So there's always going to be, whenever you have a committee and you have humans deciding it, there's always going to be these problems that develop. There's no way to completely get rid of it unless you completely get rid of a committee and you don't have people deciding who goes in. But if you have people who are going to decide, you hope that they at least come to a rational conclusion. And I think in this case, they did. I think they got it right. And then I hate the way Notre Dame has reacted to all this. I mean, this is part of the problem. It's just like, I'm going to be all petty. I'm going to be a little child and say,
who's Notre Dame's next game against? Do you know?
Alabama?
No, I'm just saying they're not playing again.
Yeah, I thought there was some ironic thing there.
No, they're not playing now till next September because they waived their right to play in a bowl game as well as a bunch of other teams too. So Notre Dame's season is over at this point.
Yeah, well, not only does Notre Dame say, I'm going to take my ball and I'm getting out of here, I'm not playing anymore, forget all you guys, we're just going to whine and be petulant and all that stuff. Then they start blaming the ACC as well and saying, our relationship with the ACC has been severely damaged because the ACC was pushing so hard for Miami over Notre Dame. Well, guess what? Miami is in the ACC, Dean. Notre Dame is not. I know Notre Dame likes to think that they're sort of in the ACC. Yes, they're in the ACC in basketball. They have a partnership in football, but you're not in the ACC. So guess what? Get in the ACC or get in the Big Ten. I mean, enough of this. Get in a conference, Notre Dame.
I agree there, absolutely. My one concern on the playoff is, and I'm not saying the committee did anything wrong because they followed the rules. The rules do need to be changed. The fact that two non-Power 4 conference teams both got in, completely unacceptable.
Really? You feel that way?
I do. I think maximum of one, unless they have great marquee wins, which neither one of those teams, Tulane.
Okay, so this is kind of a rare thing though, where this would happen, right? But it's because the ACC champ is so. I think you could have a season, Dean, where you could have two Group of 5 teams, right, that are legitimate playoff contenders. That could happen.
But we didn't have this year.
No, we didn't this year. But I have no problem with the Group of 5 thing. That's the way the rules are set up, and that's the way it goes.
Well, that's why I'm gonna lobby that the rules need to be changed. Maximum of one non-group of 4, unless they just have massive marquee wins. Like I'll take Fresno State 2001 had 2 marquee non-conference wins. If that's that team, I say okay, I get it. But for James Madison, their best wins Washington State, Tulane. I don't even know really if they have a quality win on their roster. I was very happy to see.
So do you want Duke in the playoff then?
No,
that's
what I'm saying though is I'd like to see Notre Dame in the playoff over Tulane or James Madison, one or the other.
So you're saying get rid of automatic bids for the conference champions?
Yeah, I think so. Except for mandatory, the rule should be a mandatory 1 non-group of 4 should be allowed in. The best non-group of 4 team. To allow 2 in, you basically now just gave Ole Miss and Oregon both buys, basically. Yes, they have to play a game. No, Oregon is a 21.5 point favorite over James Madison.
I'm not arguing. I mean,
Ole Miss has already beaten Tulane by 3 touchdowns.
If we're just going off point spreads and all that stuff, Notre Dame deserves to be in the playoff, by the way, because they'd be a favorite over both Alabama and Miami on a neutral field right now, maybe even as a road favorite possibly at this point. I think either you have conference champions or you don't, right? And so if you're going to give, well,
you've got a conference champion. Duke's a conference champion, but are they qualified for the playoff? No.
Right,
Imagine if they would have gotten an automatic bid.
Right, but that's my point. My point is the way it's written, which I have no problem with, 5 highest ranked conference champions go. 5 highest ranked conference champions. Okay, the ACC, that's their own issue. If Duke's going to be their conference champion, that's your fault, for the way you structured it or whatever you did.
Well, in their playoff, the fact that Miami wasn't in the championship game.
I'm not going to sit here and argue that Tulane or James Madison, especially James Madison,
that. I know you well enough there.
Has a great opportunity, to win a game or even 2. But I think one of these days, a Group of 5 team is going to knock off a Power 4 opponent in the first round, right? And until we play the games, we don't know it.
Right.
And even if it is a blowout, which is probably going to be, between James Madison, it's Ole Miss, right? James Madison and Ole Miss.
No, James Madison is going to Eugene to play Oregon, and Ole Miss and Tulane are having a rematch. They already played earlier this year.
I know OleSs blew them out during the regular season. Did. Everything else.
It's a 16.5 point spread as of this moment.
Yeah, James Madison, we'll see. Yes, probably going to lose by multiple scores, in Eugene. That's a super difficult task for James Madison. But you know what? Think of the story there with James Madison. I think it's a cool story. Even if they get blown out, I think it's a cool story. And to me, it beats having Texas in the playoff or Duke in the playoff, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't even have a problem if Duke ends up in the playoff because they ended up winning their conference.
True.
Like, no matter how it shook out, in the end, they won their conference, right?
Yeah.
And so if they get in, they get in. But I actually don't mind the 5 highest ranked conference champions thing. And I remember when this was first established, everybody was like, always just assuming that the 4 power...
Well, it was a Power 4 in the Group of 5. Right. That's why.
Everybody always assumed that it would just be the Power 4. And in my mind, I said, there's going to be a time where 2 group of 5s get in because there's always like a 4-loss team in a conference championship game.
Great job. If you called that, that's a great call on your part for sure. Absolutely.
Well, I'm just saying I thought of it. Everybody dismissed it, and I thought it could be possible because you always had a 3 or 4-loss team from one of these major conferences in a conference title game.
Right.
And this was the time where they actually won the game. Duke did.
The committee, though, they did do their job. They did everything they're supposed to do. I was really happy to see 3-loss Alabama get in because they broke that glass ceiling now. And hopefully people will still continue to schedule good non-conference games because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, well, like I've said to you, if Texas schedules Colorado State as opposed to Ohio State week 1, they probably are in this tournament as well. So I'm going to keep pushing for 16. I know Scott likes it at 12. I say the more the merrier. But the playoff committee did do a good job. I do agree. Based on the rules, they did everything they were supposed to do. The fact that Miami got in over Notre Dame. I do have one question for you, and you mentioned this when we talked. These Tuesday night reveals, 1 month ahead of the actual final reveal. It's been a lot of talk about this. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like that or do you not?
Well, I just think, unfortunately, it kind of digs the committee into a hole, right? Because they have to say something as their.
Don't you think it gave Notre Dame false hope?
Of course it did. Of course it did. And I don't blame them for thinking that. But in my mind, I'm thinking all that matters is the final ranking. And they're adjusting it week by week. But you can't really take anything that they say, week 6 and apply it to week 12, and we keep talking about, we need more like specific rules and all this stuff. Not when you have a human committee, because ultimately, to me, the reason you have a human committee is so that they can adjust it based on what they see or based on other factors. If you just want all those rules, then don't have a human committee. Just base it on computers rankings or just do an NFL style.
Right.
You win your conference, you're in, and then whatever the next 5 highest ranked computer teams get in or something like that.
Right.
So it's just silly because unfortunately it does give false hope. It does kind of dig the committee into a corner based on things they say in earlier weeks.
Sure.
And it's just pointless. I mean, it's a TV show is what it is. And it brings in a lot of revenue, I'm sure, for ESPN and for college football in some way. And it's probably part of the playoff package that we get to have this playoff reveal.
Right.
And people pay attention to it, which is what cracks me up about it. And they take what the Hunter Yurachek is his name, I think, what he says literally.
Right.
As far as applying to the final rankings.
Yeah.
The only ranking that's going to matter is the final one.
Which came out yesterday, and we know all our teams. Let's just recap on Saturday, all the action, and even a little bit on Friday. But Georgia, I told you, Scotty, last week, very difficult to beat a team twice. Georgia got revenge over Alabama. Indiana, did not play Ohio State in the regular season. That was a tough defensive battle. Tough missed field goal at the end for Ohio State. Obviously, we talked about Manny Diaz and Duke. Nice win for them. And then Texas Tech, kudos to you. You did have a play on this. They did get that second win against BYU. What stuck out to you over the weekend?
Well, I think obviously the win by Duke was a big deal, right? And then just for once too, I'd like to see a coach, Dean, who has 5 losses and won a conference title, not get up there and just stamp for we belong in the playoff. Just say, hey, we're the ACC champions. It's awesome. We won the conference title. Whatever happens, happens. We're just excited we're the ACC champs. Now you got Manny Diaz up there trying to make an argument about why his team deserves to be in the college football playoff. I just love a coach to just kind of be honest about it and realize that you're a 5-loss team and you don't really
just
have
say you're going to Disneyland or Disney World and let it go.
Be happy. You don't have to stump for the playoff. Indiana's win, obviously super impressive. I think that's just probably the most impressive win of the weekend is Indiana, beating Ohio State. It was pretty funny because I haven't had a chance to really listen to Fernando Mendoza yet,
Right.
And I don't know if you saw his on-field interview after the game.
A little bit, not a whole lot.
What a fun personality.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be great at the Heisman.
Yeah, he was just a breath of fresh air, I can't believe, shucks to be here, kind of just the emotion kind of pouring out of him. And so that was a lot of fun to see. It was actually a good weekend for me because I did have an Indiana ticket to win the Big Ten, and I did somehow.
Do you have a Fernando Mendoza Heisman?
I do not. I do not have that. That's the one thing. I have the only ticket that's in play. I've got a million tickets, way too many on Heisman.
It's all good.
Stuff.
It's all good. Okay.
But is the Diego Pavia one, but I don't think that's really live.
Looks like he's probably going to get an invitation as well as Jacob Rodriguez too. It's going to be a very interesting, vast amount of characters that are going to be at this Heisman ceremony on Saturday night. You might have a linebacker, a quarterback. It's going to be crazy, but good for college football. It's very cool. Anything else? I mean, obviously, what Kurt Cignetti has done in 2 years at Indiana for that program, it's just phenomenal. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're a one-year wonder. Yep. For what he did this year, going to Eugene, winning. It's just going to Happy Valley, winning, beating Ohio State after they beat Michigan in Indianapolis. What a great thing. Now they're the number 1 seed in the playoff.
Well, you know what's great, Dean, about this is how often do we sit here and talk about you can't get it done in college football these days.
It's only the blue bloods.
The deck is stacked against you. And in college basketball as well, there's no way we compete with the NIL and everything else. And this just shows you get the right guy in there, you get the right administration, you get the right financial support, community support, whatever it is, it can happen. Yeah. It can happen for you. So don't give up. Don't give up if you're the Fresno States of the world or this and that. Like it can happen. Right. And it's really cool to see it. It's fun to see all these like Indiana fans kind of coming out of the woodworks, and it shows that they have a fan base. They've just been waiting to be activated, right?
Right.
And so I mean that was a pretty cool atmosphere. I mean on one hand, you got the conference championship games, and I see the argument for sort of what's the point of them, in a way, kind of because they're sort of hurting teams sometimes more than they're helping teams.
Sure.
And then you watch Indiana, or you watch the way Duke reacted after winning that game, and you realize like this is, in the end, it's still about these athletes, right?
Yeah.
It's about the players. We get so caught up in everything else, but there's kids out there who are playing these games.
Yeah.
Sure, they're getting financially compensated at an incredible rate, a lot of them these days. Well, but they're still kids, and this is still one of the moments they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and chemistry is still a big part of this thing, Scotty. I heard Joey McGuire interviewed yesterday. Even though a lot of his team was purchased, quote unquote, purchased this last year, he said the chemistry's never been better with that Texas Tech team. They played like it. They played for each other, and now they are they have a bye, and they're part of the college football playoff. So very cool to see. Let's just talk a little bit about these bowl games. We mentioned Fresno State already. Let's do like a 3 to watch, 3 to see kind of bowl games you're excited to see. Anything that
I marked down a couple that were interesting.
Okay.
First off, the LA Bowl is a good matchup.
Yep.
And it comes really quickly, Dean. It comes like
this Saturday, right? It always is.
I love, because I always, that first Saturday after the conference championship games, usually have the Army-Navy game, which is obviously great, but, you don't have anything else.
And that's it.
You have FCS stuff usually.
Right.
But now we got Boise State and Washington in the LA Bowl. That's a cool game.
That's a good game.
There, especially with Boise kind of being back at full strength, with Maddox Matson back. Yeah. They look good against UNLV.
Yes, they did, Scott. Yeah. Yes, they did.
Isn't it funny, Dean, by the way, all season long with the way, the ball bounced and Boise, they've fallen off. And then here we are, the Mountain West Championship game is in Boise, and Boise State is lifting the trophy.
And they romped it, We came to bury Caesar, not to praise him, and then Caesar wins. It was just crazy how they dominated UNLV.
It's crazy. But here's 3 others that I marked down.
Yep.
This one's kind of interesting because it's kind of like how the mighty have fallen. Penn State at Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yes, I was going to mark that game. I'm glad you mentioned that game. That should be interesting, too. Dabo playing in Yankee Stadium and Penn State. Obviously, Matt Campbell got the job, but Terry Smith's going to coach that team for this final game. So.
I heard some people saying that after Penn State was, turned down, before Matt Campbell said yes, after they were turned down, I can't remember, DeBoer was kind of hinted at it and a few others, that they should just back up the Brinks truck to Clemson, South Carolina, and just, throw it to Dabo.
Oh, boy.
And so that's kind of interesting there. Georgia Tech at BYU. That's probably as good of a non-playoff matchup as you're going to get. That's in Orlando on December 27th, the same day the Dogs are playing. Yeah, the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Pop-Tarts, sorry. They switched affiliations.
And then on New Year's Eve in the afternoon, you got Michigan, Texas.
I have that one down.
Citrus Bowl. And by the way, a couple fun names that as I was going through.
Go for it. Yeah.
You got the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
Put that on a jersey.
And how about the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl?
Hey, let's do it.
May not know this. My brothers call me Scooter, so that's kind of like
I love it. All right, I've got 2 others that you didn't mention. You mentioned Michigan, Texas. That's going to be a marquee game. How about North Texas, San Diego State?
Interesting.
One of the best offenses in all of college football versus one of the best defenses in all of college football. Should be a very interesting matchup. And then I really like this one. I think this is the Vegas Bowl. This is Nebraska, Utah. I think that's going to be a really, really good game. Kyle Whittingham, always had a lot of respect for Kyle Whittingham. Always had a lot of respect for the Nebraska program, even though I'm a Colorado grad. Can't wear red. But these two teams, it's going to be a good game, I think. Really, really, really good teams, Nebraska, obviously, with their backup quarterback now, Latif, I think's his name. He's been playing a few weeks. They got beat up pretty good by Iowa.
What bowl game is that?
I believe it's Las Vegas.
Las Vegas Bowl, okay.
Yeah, I believe that's the Las Vegas.
A lot of red in that stadium.
It's all red. It'll be all red. And two teams that travel really well.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of people
I got one more game for you.
Fire away.
Notre Dame. Oh, wait a minute. They're not playing in a bowl game, Dean. Can you tell I'm a Trojan?
Let's talk about the Trojans really quick. So I think that's a challenging game for them. They're going to the Alamo Bowl to play TCU. So TCU playing in the Alamo Bowl, pretty much a home game there, San Antonio, Fort Worth, not horribly far away. So
I kind of like that setup for SC as I think about it, being indoors there, not having to deal with any weather, although you usually don't have to deal with much weather.
That Pinstripe Bowl should be interesting. That might be some good weather.
Or the one at Fenway or the one in Boise, you deal with some weather.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, at the Fresno State, their bowl game, they're going to be there for Christmas,
right?
Like in Tucson.
Because the game's on the Monday after. Yeah,
but this is cool. They have apparently there's a players only party with Snoop as part of this bowl game. Wow. I like that. No coaches.
I like it.
Although Matt Entz, you'll see today if you watch the news, he's a Snoop fan and he's been rocking a little Snoop.
I would like to see a picture of EJ and Snoop together, arm in arm. That'd be fun to see. Absolutely. So, all right, let's just get to a little bit of NFL. We had 3 to see last week. They were all pretty good games. The Thursday night game, Detroit beat Dallas. The Bills yesterday, Josh Allen behind 4 touchdowns, ended up beating Cincinnati. And then the Packers came back and beat the Bears late. So, what else struck you on NFL weekend really quick? NFL Sunday, and then we've got a game tonight.
Well, just how the Bengals kind of collapsed there at the end of that game, and Josh Allen turning into Superman. It's just funny because every time you start to kind of doubt, can Josh Allen get it done, right? Like he kind of, he tries to make the incredible play, makes some kind of boneheaded play, or has a couple bad performances, right? Where he kind of reverts a little bit back to sort of the Wyoming Josh Allen, throwing the football.
Sure.
Then he puts a performance like this out there, against the Bengals, where he looks like Superman,
right.
Playing in the snow and just looking like this beast running down the field. And so may have kind of saved the Bills' season there with that comeback there late. And Bears and Packers. I mentioned that I really like the Packers. I thought they were the favorite to win that division.
Sure.
The Bears are spunky though. They're showing that, they are a legit
very tough
team at least, right? They're not walking over for anybody at this point.
Caleb shows so much grit out there, man. Really, Caleb Williams, the quarterback. Rams get a big win. Seahawks get a big win. Now we have a battle between the Jets and Raiders. Who's going to be on the clock? With the Titans now, with the Titans beating the Browns. I mean, I got to say this. Shedeur played really, really good yesterday, but that Browns team is such a mess, though. They turn the ball over at the worst time. Special teams are horrible. Running backs can't hold on to the football. I mean, Shedeur had one bad interception, but he threw for 350 and 3 tutties. I mean,
I think if you're a Browns fan, you're encouraged.
Absolutely. With the 5th round pick who's going to start the rest of the year.
By what you're seeing out of Shedeur.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I didn't catch the whole game. I tried to get caught up real late last night with some highlights.
Right.
And I did see one ball by Shedeur, just a laser over the middle, like on a deep crosser.
To Judy for 60.
Yeah, I think that was, and I was like, wow, that's an NFL throw right there. That's an NFL arm. And I also like the way that Shedeur handled the post-game question.
Well, they're always trying to get him to say that answer.
Yeah,
he won't take the bait.
The reporter kind of egging him on about that trick play that went incredibly wrong, for the Browns.
So Judkins and Wildcat, then he fumbled the ball. I mean, that just was the 2-point
One other quick thing.
Sure.
Are we witnessing the end of the Chiefs' era?
Although they showed Scotty, at the end of the night, they showed the standings, and they're like only a game out of the last playoff spot still. Even at 6-7, they're still, you can't kill them. They're like that cockroach in the corner. You can't kill them. They're still alive. But yeah, that was a bad loss. That was a bad loss to the Texans last night at home. You can't lose that game. Too many turnovers. I don't know what's going on with that team. Any thoughts on KC?
Well, I mean, first off, just want to give some props to the Texans defense. They're impressive.
Very good.
But just for whatever reason, things just aren't clicking. I think Travis Kelce's maybe slowing down a little bit. They're not. I didn't look at the numbers that I'm assuming they didn't run the football very well last night.
Kareem Hunt actually killed me on a couple fantasy plays. He only ran for, I think, 30 yards, and Pacheco, I think, 20. They just don't really have a designated running game.
And I think as a team, they're kind of just pressing in general, right? Yeah. You know, when you feel like everything's on the line, suddenly you're feeling it a little more on some of these critical, decisions and critical plays, and suddenly drops happen and this, that, where if you're 11-2 and you're rolling, you don't even think about it. You just make that grab or you pick up that big fourth down. I mean, and maybe they're pushing it a little too much with the decisions too, right? And Could be. Mahomes, whatever reason, hasn't been able to save them this year in certain situations. They're making big mistakes at the worst time. Yeah. And in the NFL, if you do that too often, I mean, it's such a small margin for error, it's the difference between an 11-2 team and a 7-6 team, basically. Yeah.
And then tonight we've got Philadelphia at the Chargers. Any thoughts on that game real quick?
A lot of Philly fans going to be in attendance.
A lot of green. A lot of green.
They're going to take over SoFi, I think.
It's be interesting.
Yeah, the Eagles are a tough team to figure out. Kind of like the Chiefs, I guess. But because every time you think you have them figured out, then you don't. And so it's like I'm almost waiting for that big offensive explosion to come at some point, or that big Saquon Barkley game just to kind of materialize out of nowhere. Is Herbert healthy?
We're not sure yet. Okay. I mean, he had surgery on his off-throwing hand. We'll see if he plays.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think?
I don't know. We'll see. I have a play on this game. Let's get to our money plays. All right, Scotty, we have a new leader in the clubhouse. Congratulations, Scott Bemis is in the December lead. Let's show it off. There we go. He hit 3 for 6. 989.30. He almost is at that $1,000 mark. So nice wins. He had Tulane, North Texas under the 67.5. Easily Texas Tech covered the 12.5, even though that was my dog of the week that didn't come through. And Indiana team total under 21.5. If you would have had Ohio State team total under 21.5, you would have been great there too. So I think it was a 13-10 final. So Scott, any thoughts before we get to your play this week?
Well, by the way, too, my dog of the week also hit because I think I had Indiana on my dog of the week.
I believe you did.
Yeah,
yes, I believe you did. So congratulations on that.
Chalk one up. One of the few wins there. You got to celebrate the wins, Dean.
So Scott, 89.30, and he's got one play. I want him to explain this teaser real quick to the audience.
Yeah, real quick. We start each month with $1,000,
yes,
right?
We do.
So I'm still down $11 in fictitious money here.
A whopping $11.
Or $10.70
$10.70 if we're being...
yeah, here's what we'll be doing. I've been doing some college basketball teasers recently. 2-team teasers. So this is what you do. You get 4 points, right? You get to move the line 4 points in one direction, but you have to put 2 games together or 2 picks together. So here's what I'm doing. This is tomorrow night, $55 to win 50.
Yep.
A 2-team 4-point teaser is what they were offering on DraftKings, and that's what we use, that and ESPN Bet. So I'm going to move Clemson up from plus 4.5 to plus 9.5 against BYU. That game's being played in Madison Square Garden. BYU's been good this year in college hoops. Clemson, though, they're an ACC team. Just last week at Alabama, fell behind by like 18 in the first half. Most teams, that would be a 30-point loss against the Crimson Tide.
Sure.
They came back to actually take the lead in the second half, actually had a lead with a couple minutes to go. This team battles, this team fights. They're a legitimate top 25 team, in my opinion, so I'm going to move that up. I don't think BYU is going to win by more than 9.5. BYU might win, but I like taking 9.5 there. And then one thing I've learned in the Big Ten, especially early in the Big Ten, in these random conference games, especially when everybody still doesn't have a loss, everybody's excited, this and that, the home court advantage in the Big Ten is such a big deal.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And so Ohio State's getting 3.5 already against Illinois at home. It's a good Illinois team, but Ohio State only one loss this season.
So making it 7.5.
They're a decent outfit. I'm going to move it up. 7's kind of the number that I like to get above in college basketball or in the NBA, especially in college basketball. Because if you're down 7 with like 15 seconds left, sometimes you don't foul again, right? And so getting 7.5, I like it there.
All right, I'm at 9:30. What is that? 9:38.65. I hit a couple, lost a couple, so kind of out of time. I got 7 plays. Most of them are for today. Nothing big. I did take the Chargers. I brought that up to 3.5 from 2.5, so gave up a little bit there. So 20 to win 12, but I could see the Eagles winning that game by a field goal, but we'll see. So I've got a money line play, Pacers, Timberwolves, Spurs. I got an NHL play. I think my biggest play on the board, $40. A little basketball play today. Southern Miss, all 4 favorites. Just straight money line. Southern Miss, Texas, Charleston Southern, and Pennsylvania all to win. I know Scott's laughing at me. So there wasn't a lot to play for today on the board. So So anyway, take a screenshot of that. Good luck. Any last thoughts before we got to go?
Can you name the nicknames for any 4 of those teams?
Penn's the Quakers, Charleston Southern. God, what are they? I'm trying to remember. We played them a couple years ago in college football. I don't remember what they are, but Penn's the Quakers. I do know that. So, any last thoughts before we got to go?
Hey, it's been fun.
Yep.
Holiday season. Got
Yep.
bowl games. We'll have some more picks for you on Thursday.
Yep.
Hopefully, maybe some football stuff, and we have a better chance to look at it.
Sounds good. Well, on behalf of Scott, I'm Dean. This has been the Beam and Dean Show.